Any day you want to start, Rachel?
For sure. Okay. Welcome back to Roid Rage. Today, you may be unfamiliar with the host because it is not Chap. It is me, Rachel, and I'm actually the producer of this awesome podcast that we release on a weekly basis. And actually,
so just really quick, anybody with has audio complaints or visual complaints, you can email Rachel. That's RACHELLE at AstroForge.com.
I'm actually quite impressed that you remembered how to spell her name.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
At AstroForge.com, and please complain.
Yes, that is on me. I fully own that. So today, actually, what we're going to be doing is a little bit different from our usual podcast structure. We're not really going to be talking about any particular technical topic. We're actually going to be debunking some of the comments that we've received on a recent interview that Matt had with Sean Ryan on the Sean Ryan Show podcast. And we got some interesting...
It's only based on that podcast? It's pretty selective.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it feels like the body of...
There's a good mix of questions.
Yeah.
There's a good mix of questions.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
good, diverse mix of questions.
Technical question before we get into this. Do we need to debunk, or can we just sort of build on?
Like, just respond to
Okay,
it, you
cool.
know?
But if I happen to be aligned with it, I can sort of
Yeah,
build.
yeah.
Cool.
You don't have to, like, disagree.
Feeling out the...
Chap's like, yeah, if I hate him too, how do I just be like, yeah, fuck him?
If it's valid. Okay, so basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be presenting the comments that I have sourced from these pieces of content, and I want Matt to mainly respond to them, but also Chap will be here as sort of like a passenger supporter figure.
This is
That's
perfect.
not what we talked about at all. I thought this was split
so excited for
50-50.
this.
What the fuck? All right.
Alrighty, so we're going to start off with a strong one. Number one, this guy is absolutely nuts. We can't even go to the moon.
This is what we're doing in this episode.
I love this as an opener.
This is
There's longer questions
okay.
later on, but
I'm
this
locked
is
in.
the starter question. We're starting off a little strong.
Okay.
This guy's absolutely nuts. We can't even go to the moon.
okay. Well, the first part is just probably factually correct. The second part, that we can't even go to the moon, is something like, I don't know why we keep revisiting this. Like, there is so much engineering and science that was done to get us to the moon. It would almost be idiotic to just not go do it. Like, at that point, why would you even fake it? I mean, there's a whole bunch of data from the Saturn program that we have on how to build engines, how to build tanks, tank modeling, cameras, like these very detailed things that you can go look up and view. I mean, there's some really cool camera footage inside Saturn tanks, I think from the Saturn 1 and the Saturn 5, of how they were built and how fluids. Like, you're not going to go to that level if you're just going to be on a soundstage faking it. I don't see why we think that we faked it. Like, there just actually wasn't a reason to as we've gone there. All this stuff has been verified and tracked. So we can sit here and argue about some picture that was taken in 1969 on a Vicon camera using light rays to read it and why there's some errors in it. And I guess trace that back to the whole thing was made up. It's just an extrapolation of people that haven't actually done the intellectual work to understand how to build rockets or think about it going forward. So I'm kind of with Buzz Aldrin on this one. Like, probably just punch that guy in the face.
Anything to add to that?
I agreed with half of that statement.
3/4 of that statement. Okay.
Chap just meant he agreed with the part where I'm crazy.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I agreed with that one. I mean, I'm. To be clear, I believe we went to the moon. I also believe that it's probably one of the first scientific and engineering feats that we accomplished that was really hard for people to hold in their heads, and it's so complex that I can understand why people want to pull it apart just from an emotional perspective. To say it's fine to say, hey, we've sent an Intuitive Machines or just a lander there because that makes it easier. But to try and understand how you could have a human get to the moon, come out of a thing, stand on the moon, go back into a thing, and get home, there's so many sort of stacked leaps of faith that I think your average person has to make that I can understand why you can just stop at one of those and be like, no, it's actually in some ways simpler to say it was faked than it was to say, I actually believe all of these engineering things of which I have no concept of how that actually works.
It just requires rigor, I think, to disprove it, and it gets you that the average person isn't going to go do all the engineering reading and the studying of how rockets are built and the progression of them to be like, oh yeah, this all makes logical sense. You just see oh, some dude's on the moon. He came back like, oh, that's got to be bullshit.
For sure. Well, you heard it here first, folks. The moon landing was real, and the engineering behind it proves that it was. Okay, so that was a strong start, but we're going to move on because we have a handful more. So just a refresher on the actual episode that you recorded with Sean. We also discussed other topics other than asteroid mining, and one of them was deep sea exploration. And I think a lot of people also mention why don't you explore the ocean? Why are you looking into space? Why not look inwards into what we have here on Earth? But, we had some comments. So one of them was, he can't fathom why aliens under the ocean wouldn't just make themselves known and dominate us. That's what he'd do. Lovely. Just lovely.
Is that a question or a statement?
It's a statement, but I want to hear your take on aliens under the ocean and the validity in their existence.
This is this hard human concept where we say something and then we say disprove it. Okay, what do you want me to fucking say? There's zero evidence that aliens exist under the ocean. And showing me some grainy video footage from a fighter plane that shows some object in there doesn't actually prove that we've discovered anything that is a extraterrestrial life form under the ocean. Now, there's some cool shit under the ocean. There's a lot of exploration that is done. There's people like Victor who have gone to the bottom of the deepest parts and explored it and been there. I just don't know why that means I have to justify that there's not aliens there. It's like saying, oh, there's not a human life form on Jupiter. Prove me wrong, Rachel. You can't. But at the same time, you have to make this extrapolation that for some reason there's human life forms sitting on Jupiter that don't want to talk to us. It's this logic loophole that I don't even find reasonable to answer.
All right. I'll just play the counterpoint here because I guess this is my role. If there were aliens on Earth, statistically more likely than in the water than on land. We're 73% water right now. We've mapped less than 50% of the oceans with any degree of fidelity. So if you asked me to bet where are there aliens, I'd bet that there's aliens in the water. I don't want to find them because that means they came from space and then figured out how to live in the water.
I mean,
but
using that logic, then why don't 73% or whatever the ocean is of humans live in the ocean? Because our bodies are adapted differently, right? And so you're making the assumption that an extraterrestrial life form that had the intelligence to come here also
would be similar
requires to live underwater or requires to live under air. And I just find this whole concept really weird to me from the standpoint that intelligence creatures throughout what we have at least witnessed on Earth, when you have intelligence arise in a life form, that life form then wants to be dominant compared to other life forms. Humans are a great example of this, but there's a whole bunch of examples of this in the animal kingdom. And so I just find it really hard to believe that aliens are going to come here and then be like, nah, we're cool, bro. We're just going to live in the ocean. Peace. Don't look at us. Probably not. They're probably going to fuck our shit up, right? They're probably going to kill us all and rule the planet. And okay, so the fact that I still live here and there isn't an alien overlord kind of tells me that aliens haven't been here.
Valid.
Or they just really like surfing.
Third question. Why do I have this eerie feeling that one of his mining ships crashes onto a populated landmass in the future? Seems like someone more focused on mining and money than safety in the space over our heads. I wish him well.
At least that guy wishes me well.
Thank you for that.
I mean, right? Look, the reality is whenever you have a technological leap that enables humans to do different things, there's going to be usually a cost of something associated with that. We don't get to fly airplanes every day unless we had the dawn of aviation, and we all like to think of that as the golden age where you had great service. What it was is no, half those airplanes just crashed in the middle of nowhere and all these people died on them, right? Exploration will take risk as we go forward. Well, we have a spacecraft that may crash into somewhere we don't want it to. That's totally possible that it can happen. I'm not going to say it's not. Are we going to do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen and we understand what we're doing and we think about all the processes we're going through? Absolutely. It's also really hard to be clear for a spacecraft of our size to have a controlled entry into Earth, but not know where it's going to land. Usually, if we have a failure on the spacecraft before we enter Earth, the spacecraft will rotate to some extent and not hit the heat shield correctly and burn up in the atmosphere. So there's a lot of reasons why we're probably not going to crash into a city.
Right.
To be clear, even if we do crash into a city, these are relatively small craft. They're about 1,200 kilograms in size. I mean, yeah, if it hits you on the head, it's probably going to kill you. But is it going to take out LA? Like, not even close. We're so much smaller scale than this would even dictate.
Right. Nothing to add.
No,
Okay.
I agree with that.
Awesome.
First one you agreed with.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll find more points of disagreement. Don't worry.
So this one's kind of a long one, but just hear me out. So this one says, the script for Don't Look Up was written around late 2019, early 2020. Movie release date on Netflix was December 21, and then this guy founded AstroForge in January of 2022, almost a year to the date of the Don't Look Up movie. If anyone hasn't seen the movie, the megalomaniac inventor decides to forego pushing the asteroid off its collision course with Earth and has the genius idea to mine the precious metals from the asteroid. Almost seems like this guy, Matt Geilich, watched the movie, stole the idea of mining an asteroid, and then formed a company around it. Weird coincidence?
Just to be clear, this is the conspiracy theory that I'm here for. This is great.
I mean, there's another conspiracy theory. I was also about 10 years old when a movie called Richie Rich came out. Remember that one, Chap?
I do remember
Yeah,
Richard.
What is
So I
that?
did not expect you to go here first. but
Yeah. So-
let's follow this bread.
I mean, I'm just
breadcrumb
saying,
trail.
like, Richie Rich came out, right? He was just rich as fuck kid. I think he had no friends or something. I don't remember what the story was.
Is this
So-
a real person? Or is this a movie?
This is a movie, Rachel.
Oh, okay.
But it is based on my life and what I want to grow up to be. So, really, look, I'm glad that we draw this extrapolation here between watching a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, which I share a lot of looks with, and what we would become. And I just not why I started the company. Like, I wish I could say that. Yeah, I think it's funny. I think it's absolutely
Awesome
amazing
timing.
that there's like a asteroid coming towards Earth, but also if an asteroid is on a direct collision course with Earth, especially off plane, it's really hard to slow down to actually mine it. So the physics of that movie don't make a lot of sense.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a good way to base a company off a movie where the physics are a movie. I also didn't base it off Armageddon, to be clear. Like, neither of those, they're fun to talk about. They're great movies.
Yeah,
They're entertainment. They're not in the realm of actual science.
for sure. Yeah, we've gotten a handful of comments about Armageddon as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Next question. This guy's clearly just a venture capital / Wall Street guy with an aerospace mining con angle. I feel like he's describing opportunities in the previously owned vehicle markets.
I don't think this person understands what a Wall Street guy is.
Also, to be clear, I've never been to Wall Street, so
Yeah,
it's kind of hard. And I don't have a
you're
finance
not a
background.
Wall Street guy whatsoever.
I think their assumption is that you come from like an investing VC background and you're like running this aerospace mining con angle.
Yeah, to be clear, no. I went to school to be an engineer, and I worked as an engineer for a long time. And to be when this company was founded, I actually wasn't even the CEO to begin with. And I mean, it goes as far as when I talked to some of our first investors very early in the company. When long story here that I won't get into, they said you should apply to Y Combinator, and I said, what the fuck is Y Combinator? Like, I don't know anything about venture. I didn't know anything about forming a company or how this worked. I mean, that's why you read. That's why you learn. That's how you go and learn what it is. I didn't come from this finance background and apply it the other way. In fact, I just want to go explore the universe. That's really all this company is, right? It's a way to go travel out to the cosmos and see if we can answer some of the questions we all want to know. I mean, there's this report recently that maybe there's life discovered on Mars now. It's probably the third report we've said there's life discovered on Mars, right? But what does that actually tell you is we need more scientific data. We need more engineering data to figure out if this is true or not. And I don't see anybody else actually trying to answer those questions or make it so that humans can actually understand what we're going into. We like to use big words like we're going to be a multiplanetary species without going into the details of what that means. That has nothing to do with Wall Street. I don't think I'd do something this hard if I came from Wall Street. There's a lot of other shit that's a lot easier to go do that probably makes a lot more business sense.
But like a comment like this is also really it's sad as pejorative, but I don't have a better word right now. Like, I guess it's indicative of, I think especially over the past like 5 or 10 years, folks have equated big, what I will call boundary pushing tech companies as being frauds. Which like there's always been a natural trade-off of like, hey, you set out with a big ambitious goal. It sounds improbable, bordering on science fiction, and we have the like double whammy of like actually being a focus of like many science fiction movies. And so I think there's a natural tendency for a lot of folks to see the amount of money that comes into a company like this, assume that it's just being led by a bunch of fraudsters who are playing a short-term game. And I think one of the things that's really hard to tell in any podcast or any sort of like public environment is like there's a sort of like a real true and honest enthusiasm to explore the cosmos here, and it takes money. Like it's not for free, right? And this is a place in which like if you think about SpaceX, like SpaceX avoided a lot of this because Elon was able to fund it for the first 7 or 8 years, and so people didn't know how much money was going into it, and he had the opportunity to sort of control that narrative in a way that we get lumped into a narrative of like, my guess is most people would think about something that we're doing and equate it more to like what happened with Theranos, which is like, hey, it's a scam, even if there was an initial kernel of like scientific theory or research that sort of spurred that there. So I completely get the sort of like the origin of the story of the question, and I think it's really hard to discern, especially in today's venture world, of like what is real and what's just out there for money grab, because there are money grab startups there.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point, and I'll say a couple notes here is that if we were fraudulent, I hope to God we'd have a lot more money, right? Like, fuck. We're actually pretty shitty frauds. But also, this is a big reason why I think building in public is important and why we publish everything we do to an extent. I mean, it takes effort to publish. It's not free. Why do we have this podcast? Why do we write these articles that go through the steps of spacecraft building? It's actually real-time views into what we're doing and how we're learning about it as time goes on. And I think that's an important piece to keep here and show. I mean, there is a lot of people that could probably make a lot more money not being at this company that are here for the exploration gene. And it's probably a really bad way to make a fraud.
Agreed. For sure. Okay. Next question. Rare earth metals like platinum are misunderstood and aren't that rare at all. These metals are attained as byproducts of processing other metals like iron ore and aluminum. It's just very time and energy consuming to produce using today's methods.
Okay, platinum group metals aren't rare earth metals. Next question.
Cool.
There's a kernel of truth in there. Rare earths aren't rare. Like it's a misnomer, right? We have a lot of them. Like there's a lot in the public discourse right now about how we need more rare earths, and we hear about it mostly from a defense perspective. Like listener or the poster, yeah, we'll call him poster. Poster is directionally correct that like there are actually a lot of rare earths in the U.S.
that are co-located with other metals.
That are co-located with other metals. I think one of the challenges that we do find is like not extracting them, but actually processing them, and that's why a lot of that is done overseas, and that's why we have sort of like the economic imbalance right now that we do primarily with China. But that's true mostly of rare earths and not platinum group metals, which are two distinct groups of metals.
Yeah, very, very different things as we go through. So I think you're just convoluting it. I mean, this is actually really easy to just look up. Just go look up the market caps of platinum group metals compared to the rare earth metals, and you're going to see something along the lines of, depending on which resource you use, platinum group metals are going to be between $30 to $60 billion in market cap, where rare earths are going to be $4 to $6 billion. I mean, and that's for 19 different elements.
Wow.
They're not as lucrative a metal source, and I'm not going to pretend like they are, and that's why I don't give a shit about them.
Cool. Awesome. Next question. Is it really harder to dig deeper on Earth than it is to mine from an asteroid in space? IDK if I believe this one.
Okay.
You're looking at me?
I just don't like these. This is another one of those questions that's like, oh, isn't like I didn't bother to open up Wikipedia and Google this.
But it's not. It's well.
Also, I don't know how you open up Wikipedia and Google what I'm gonna stick
that was gonna be my back pocket, but thank you for spoiling that one.
Yep.
I think this is one where it's like it depends on what you mean by dig, right? Like, do we have the machinery to dig a hole that is, call it 2,000 to 4,000 meters underground? Sure, we can put a hole that is 2,000 to 4,000 meters underground. We've gotten really good at doing that, especially over the last 40 to 50 years. That is like step one of a multi-step process to then say, you not only have to have a hole down there, you have to have a hole in which machinery, people can operate at 2,000 meters underground. You're probably, depending upon location, 130 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So like, how do you
I think
have?
it's much more. I think it's 30. Isn't it 30 degrees C per 500 meters?
Even if I'm off by like, I'm not.
It's hot as
It's
shit.
still
It's
super
really,
hot,
really hot
right? Like,
environment,
I
yeah.
mean, super hot environment that you then have to have people and equipment, and so like, the hole. Is it easier to dig a hole than it is to send a spacecraft? Yes. Is it easier to operate down a hole than it is to operate a spacecraft? I would argue the spacecraft is actually easier there. And that's where you get a lot of the like core tension in Earth mining right now, which is until you can envision an Earth mine that is fully autonomous, where we don't care if a truck gets crushed or, melts, like maybe then it'll be easier. But while mining still requires people and well, let's just pretend we care about people, which we should. Like, it's always going to be harder to operate there.
Even if we don't care about people, though, let's pretend that we hate everybody. It comes down to unit economics, right? I used to work at a company called Bird, and they forgot about that word, unit economics, and they went bankrupt because of it. Like, it matters how much it costs to pull the metal out of the ground and how much you can sell it for. It's really that simple. And you hear this statement said of people say, like, well, we have enough of this material on Earth. That's correct. Core of the Earth has a lot of platinum group metals in it. I have no fucking idea how to get to the core. And even if we could scientifically get to the core, I'm not economically mining the core of the planet at all. So you got to draw this delineation between it. It's really easy to have these high level views of like, oh, we have enough material on the planet. It's not how markets work. It's not how economic scales work. Right. We do know that asteroids have very, very high concentrations of the platinum group metals, and for us, we firmly believe that we have a huge amount of margin that we can gain even on today's operational platinum group metal mines by going to space. I don't know another way to say it. Now, obviously, our thesis of this, of going out to asteroids and mining them and bringing it back to Earth, does make zero sense if you find a solid piece of platinum that's a mile thick, 1 foot under the surface of the Earth tomorrow. But like, unless we make that kind of discovery, we show a lot better margins, and we plan to go leverage those margins to make a lot more fucking money.
Right.
And to Chap's point, hopefully kill less people. Maybe not zero, but less.
Significantly less.
Yeah. Okay. Next comment here. The fact that they say they can land on a rock going 60,000 miles per hour is an absolute joke.
Well, this goes back to my comment, like we landed on the moon, but I don't think these people believe we landed on the moon, so maybe that's not valid.
It is kind of in a similar vein.
Yeah.
I mean, we landed on Mars.
Right.
This is the problem with space, that it's really hard for you to conceptualize unless you think about, which is like 60,000 miles an hour relative to what?
Yeah.
We're not landing on it going 60,000 miles an hour relative to the asteroid. In fact, when we touch down on the asteroid, we plan on being about 0.1 meters per second of speed. I don't know what that is in miles per hour, but I'll tell you this, it's fucking slow. And that's relative to the asteroid. Yeah, we might be going fast relative to Earth. We're also going fast relative to the sun.
Yeah.
Guess what? Our sun is also going fast relative to the center of the Milky Way, which is going fast relative to the Andromeda Galaxy, which is going fast relative to the Big Bang. Like, coordinate frames matters. This goes back to that basic understanding of physics and math, which I feel like is lacking a little bit in these comments.
To soften that just a little bit. Yes, but like it's all like back to like one of the original questions. Is this a really hard thing to conceptualize? Like, it's a really hard thing to conceptualize what 60,000 miles an hour is.
Right.
And then you try to think about 60,000 miles an hour in a dimensionless space, sort of, right? It's one thing to say, hey, if you're just on the highway and you could get a Porsche that goes 60,000 miles an hour, and now you've got to say, actually, it's a Porsche that can go on the highway and then it can sort of take a weird 45-degree angle up into the air and then fly. Like, there's not a really simple mental model for people to apply to this, and so I think I get why when you say actually it's not as hard as you think it is, that actually makes no sense to most folks.
Be fair, not us as a company, right? But us as a human species have landed on plenty of bodies in space at plenty of different missions from different countries.
But you never think about the moon I think most people don't even think about the Earth having speed, right? Like, we say we orbit, but no one ever says like, well, how fast do we orbit? We say, well, over 24 hours, but like that's a time measurement. That's not actually a speed measurement, right? And so I think this is a place where like people have a really hard time of like, Wait, how fast is the Earth moving right now?
How fast is it?
Relative to what? The Earth orbits the sun once a year. That's why we define a year. And our distance from the sun, the radius to the sun, is 150 million miles. So do some math.
Are you talking to me? Okay, cool. Thank you for that, Matt. Okay,
I'm here.
for sure. Next,
Also, let's do the math. What is it? So it's about...
So 67,000 miles an hour is what we are moving relative to the sun.
Yeah, so that's your 60,000 mile thing. So
Yeah.
tell this motherfucker in the comments, jump. You just landed on a body going 67,000 miles an hour. Bro, the fuck out of here. Next question.
Okay, next question. Space and cheap should not be used in the same sentence.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Neither should education and that guy.
In our PR team, folks.
Is that the comment, or is there
That
more
is
to it?
literally the comment. And I think
It's like a fascinating comment, though, because that actually doesn't hold true in any other facet of anything we do.
right.
Right? Like almost everything we do, whether it's clothing, automobiles, maybe with the exception of medicine. No, we still say medicine should be cheaper. Like there's almost nothing that we don't say should
try to
be
optimize.
cheaper. And I'm actually like that would be a fun conversation to me. Like, why do you feel like space shouldn't be cheap?
Yeah, I think what we're saying is a lot of times we also infer cheap as lacking quality.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're saying here. If you hold
Like, we're not going to sell
constant,
we're not going to sell the
obviously-
spacecraft on Temu.
Yeah.
There's sorry for the Temu shop there.
Can we?
Spacecraft.
Timo
Should I,
only
like,
goes,
bleep it out?
Yeah, I don't think we can. We could start an America to China Timo. Nobody saw that shit.
We just factually can't do that.
We call it UMIT.
Oh
Just
my
Timo
god.
backwards.
This whole thing. Can you just get
Boom
it
it.
edited out? Okay. Sorry, Rachel, bring us back on track.
So yeah, I think generally, well, what I'm surmising from this comment is that like people usually think that spacecraft, because it is such a complex piece of engineering, and most people are only exposed to like NASA missions that take decades to complete and build, right? So for them, I feel like seeing spacecraft be in this equation of like being optimized and like made faster and cheaper, it kind of goes against what they grew up with and what they're familiar with.
Again, this comes down to the fact that we're not a NASA mission. And I don't mean this as like NASA sucks and they're wrong. Most NASA missions are dedicated launches where you're going to have a vehicle that's 3 to 4 tons in size, right? And is massive and big and has a whole bunch of complex, really, really discrete scientific instruments that are really, really highly made at different labs around the planet, and it's tested and blah, blah, blah. And like, we're a 200 kilogram small box that doesn't have any science on it. So it's not actually that we're building a cheaper spacecraft. We're just not building an entire spacecraft as people natively think of spacecraft. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I'll give you another example we like to talk about all the time is Elon made cheaper rockets, right? The Delta IV in the early 2000s was about $400 to $450 million a launch, and Falcon 1 was supposed to be $6 million a launch. Those aren't equivalent rockets.
Yeah.
Delta IV was meant to never fail, launch $1 billion, $2 billion NRO missions, much heavier lift capacity, be launched out of certain areas, blah, blah, blah. Use hydrogen oxygen as fuel source, which is very hard to do, but you get more thrust out of it, blah, blah, blah. Falcon was like a little tiny thing that barely took any mass to orbit. So it's this whole native that like they're not the same thing. This is a Ferrari to a Toyota Camry. We're building a Toyota Camry.
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it. Anything to add?
And we also promised not to send people on it, which like I would argue then like we actually carry the lowest technical implication of anything that's being built. Like we're not building the rockets. It's not going to blow up on the pad. There's virtually no way in which we become disconnected from the rocket while we're still in Earth's atmosphere. And once we detach from the rocket, if we fuck up, we just tumble throughout space. Like
Just call
if
it
there's
Odin.
ever,
Into the void.
if there's, I mean, yeah. Shout out to Odin. Like if there's a place to actually practice what it means to be cheap, like this is actually probably one of the best scenarios for us to do so. There's no comms link to it. Like it's actually like from like a LEO communication satellite perspective. So like this is the best place to do it.
But you also bring up a good point that is we are disconnected from humans. There's no
Yeah.
we're not on the shuttle. We're not alongside any kind of other humans. Like this is a purely mechanical humanless mission where the cost of failure is an explosion in the atmosphere, not a loss of life. And that allows us to take a lot more risk.
And I think to extrapolate that further down, like it's also saying the way that we build it isn't cheap, right? We're not just like going willy-nilly, generally speaking, and trying to like put people who are building the spacecraft. Like there's actually a lot of effort that goes into the spacecraft to intentionally control cost, not this is just a skimping organization to try and build it as cheaply as possible through like the labor and the engineering
Yeah,
practices.
they're decisions. They're not consequences.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next comment. Theory is not fact. The Bible is. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Genesis 1:1. Here's how to know God, the creator of the universe, Matt. And they attached pictures of Bible verses. I think you've seen this comment.
There's pictures of Bible verses?
Yeah, they like attached pictures of Bible verses in with this comment.
Oh, so they're in Arabic?
No, it was fully in English.
Oh, so it must have been the translated Bible by King James?
Potential, yeah.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a landmine. I don't know that I want to step on it.
We're just gonna yeah.
I mean, look, like, all right, I will step on this landmine. Yeah, there goes.
Chap,
the
it
leg.
was good knowing you.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you.
Religion and science have always and will always be in tension. Like, full stop. Like, I think one of the important things here in the type of science that we are doing is that it should not actually cross the bridge of any strong religious beliefs. Like, we are trying to explore physical space that just definitionally exists. So if you have a problem with that, like it's hard to figure out where there's a compromise here, right? Like I can see that in a lot of other places where we talk about like reproductive rights and definition of life and all of that things. Like that's a very different topic. Like this is like, hey, space exists. People have gone there. Like we are trying to explore it. We're also trying to do it in a way that like you have to go out of your way to really try to figure out a way in which this offends a religion's core beliefs. And we're also trying not to offend people here. So
This is true.
I don't know if I'm being honest. I don't actually know if I'm trying not to offend people. I'm also just trying to be agnostic to it. Like religion, everybody has their own personal beliefs, and I want to respect people's own personal beliefs. And to Chap's point, like nothing we're doing that I'm aware of goes against anyone's personal beliefs. And if they do, sucks for you. I don't know what to say. Like there's nothing. There's no other way to put it. Right? Like, sorry.
Yeah. It was a good conversation. Okay. The circus is over. It's a really dramatic start.
it is. And this one needs like theme music.
No,
circus.
this one is dramatic. The circus is over. Everyone knows that space is fake. You don't live on a magical, wobbling, spinning ball of water that's hurling through nothing at 1.2 miles per hour.
I'm actually really impressed that this person is so stupid. They still know that the Earth wobbles on its axis.
That's true.
So,
That's
you know,
like
I
a
gotta give
random
credit.
thing that they kind of got right.
Yeah, I got to
and
give
nailed.
credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
But it's really important to understand, like, it's great to know your IQ can be like 4, but you still use those 4 points to identify something factual.
Sorry, is there more to this comment, or is that?
No,
That's it. Okay.
they're just denying that space is real, and that
it's not
what
just
we're doing is fake.
I say this as a person who has like a decent amount of anxiety that I kind of manage every day. Like that's just a lot of anxiety to like have a constant existential like Schrodinger's game of like, is space and Earth real? Like
Right.
that's hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have much more to say about that comment than that.
Yeah, the fuck you want us to go with this, Rachel?
Okay, so we actually have we have 2 nice comments.
Okay.
Do you want me to read them?
Not really.
Okay.
I
I'll
don't
read
need-
one of them. 'cause
No,
one-
let's put some nice comments in here. Yeah.
Okay. Love hearing from leaders who actually take moonshot risks instead of just talking about them. Even with setbacks, AstroForge is pushing boundaries most companies wouldn't dare touch. Respect to Matt for being transparent and still aiming for the stars. Literally, good luck, bud.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a very nice comment, whoever that was.
Thank you.
High IQ. Also, this was supposed to be fucking questions. Now what is this? Just like ego boosting?
Just that was
Matt,
just
we
one,
think you're really
one
fucking
nice,
awesome. Thank you for being amazing.
That was just one nice comment. And then we're ending just with the silly like comment that someone pointed out that this guy's a clown. Period. Profanity. Period.
I mean, you do swear a lot.
What is your take on colorful language?
I think we shouldn't use any colorful language ever. I think it's very inappropriate to cuss.
That's so fucking bullshit.
To use. Here's the reality of it is we can all pretend that we don't live in the world. We live in the world. And if you go talk to a normal person, that's how I talk to everybody. That is, I treat everybody as an equal, on an equal playing field to me. I'm not going to try to approach this as I'm some guy who has everything figured out and has it all straight laced and is going to give you this, like, not what you would hear if you were talking to somebody in the field. Go spend a day in any office around the world or any kind of engineering setting, and people are going to use words that you will deem inappropriate. And guess what? That's how normal humans talk on this planet. So I'm not going to treat you as you're beneath me and I need to use all these big words and talk differently. I think that's one of the most disrespectful things people can do. I think scientists do this a lot, where they will simply name things differently so that, I mean, medicine is great for this, right? Like, it's not called an arm bone or a leg bone. It's called like a femur and a tibula. Why?
Right.
It's just to add this kind of verbal word salad in between your level of knowledge and their level of knowledge, so they feel, superior to you as a human.
It's sort of like linguistic gatekeeping type of deal.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
100% it is. And I actually think it's extremely disrespectful. So people may disagree with how I talk. Fuck them.
As someone who also swears a lot, I tend to agree with a lot of what you just said. I think the other thing that I have learned to temper a little bit is that it can sometimes be off-putting. Like, swearing can be a precursor to a lot of other uncomfortable things that can follow up that until people actually get a sense of, like, what's the cadence and how do you use it? And is it just for comedic value? Is it just for, like, shock value, or is it a precursor to then you standing up and punching me in the face because I should have seen this coming along all along? Like, I get how some people are like, don't see it as as an endearing or sort of a level setting thing, but actually get a little bit sort of off put by it. But that's like, it's nuance in there.
I'm pretty off-putting as a person, so.
Just
how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, I think those were pretty it.
That was a great Q&A of just fucking statements.
Okay, and I think that's about a wrap on episode 29, where we had Matt and Chap try to respond to / debunk some of these comments that we've been getting on our social media, as well as the Sean Ryan podcast that Matt was just featured on. If you have any more questions for our next episode, which will be episode 30, we're going to be talking about solar arrays, so be sure to send in your mailbag questions. See y'all next week.